Well, this is how I incorporated sports psychology into coaching. When I was coaching before I became a sports psychologist, this is what I'll be talking about this time. At the beginning of each season, I met with the team and talked with them about the importance of mental skills. And I gave them a clinic, and I explained what it was and how we would develop their mental skills. I had clinics with them on a regular basis and taught them the mental skills. I emphasized before each practice the goal of practicing their mental skills in today's practice. I would then check with them after practice to see how they did. Now, I will now list the things I did as a coach. I want you to know that I will get into more detail about these skills when I talk to you about what I did as a sports psychologist. So here are the basic things that I did when I was coaching. I went over my coaching philosophy with them. And this let them know that I cared about them and let them really know who I was, that they were important to me. I helped them set goals and had them set the goals. I taught them time management, and I taught them how to focus on the moment and take it one play at a time. And then I also taught them about monitoring their self-talk and using thought stoppage. Now, how I worked with the individual as a sports psychologist once I became a sports psychologist. I'll give you a list of the things that I did, and then I will take a few of these skills and give you more details regarding how I taught the skills to the athletes. So here's a list of the skills that I taught and some of the actions that I took. I first started off again each time explaining to the teams what mental training is and what I would be doing with them. Then I would introduce my philosophy. I did that because it told them what I valued, what I stood for, that they were important to me, and I had a philosophy written, and I shared that with them, and then I also gave them a written copy of it. Then I got them to develop a mission statement and commit to that statement. And a mission statement, again, was something that they, as a team, voted on and decided that they wanted to do. And it was what we want to accomplish as we go through the season. And then I would have them commit to that and make a banister with the commitment on it, and then they would sign the banister, and then we would put that in the locker room, and they would see that as they came in to practice every day. But again, it was something that they developed, and it brought them together as a team. I then would have them do goal setting, teach them goal setting, and I'd have them set goals in the academic, athletic, and social area. And these goals, they would have to do 6 steps in each one of the areas, and we went through a specific process, and then once they set those goals, then they would share those with their position coach as well as with me. Then time management is something that I would have them do, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second here. Monitoring self-talk and using thought stoppage. I would teach them, they would monitor how they're talking to themselves and seeing how that was affecting. For example, if they were walking across campus heading to a class and they were thinking, gosh, I don't really want to go to this class, then they would say, stop. Hey, you know that you really need to do that and it'll be really good for you. And they would do this type thing when they were doing things on the field or whatever. So that's managing your self-talk and using the thought stoppage. Imagery is another thing that I taught them, And I will talk about that in just a second here in more detail. And then focusing on one play at a time, and focusing on the moment and taking one play at a time. So I'll start now by going over some details of a couple of these. Let's take the focus on the moment, one play at a time, and going all out. I taught this one very early because it's something that they needed to be doing when they first started practice. And I would first talk about what it was and why it was important. And what it was means that, hey, you focus on one play at a time and you go all out. And we use some pin pole exercises, which I don't have time to go right now, but pin pole exercises which helped them understand what focus was. And then we would learn to focus on the moment and on the correct thing. And at this time too, I would tie this to confidence, that if you focus on one play at a time and go all out, then that gives you the chance to be the best you can be. And if you keep doing that every practice for every play, then you're going to get better and better. And that means that you will be confident. So if I ask you, hey, are you confident as you get ready to play this next game? And you can look at me and say, yeah, which means, hey, I know that I'll focus on one play at a time, and that's what I do every day in practice, and that gives me the chance to be the best that I can be. And in order to learn to do this, I would teach them a routine. And very simply, that routine was this. If you're getting ready for a play, you'd use a trigger word like now. Okay, and when the huddle broke or you get ready for the play, then you pick the thing that you are to focus on, and use again your keyword now, babe, or whatever you want to do. And then when the play starts, then you focus on your particular position, and you go all out. You're not thinking about technique or anything at that point, but you're just going all out. And when you finish, you use your keyword like, way to go, I'm good. And then you get ready for the next one. And you do your routine all during practice. It may be, again, like before the next play, you'd say, explode. And then I focus on what's going on. And when the play again is over, and you say, way to go, and you get ready for the next one. Okay, so that's an example of how to do that one. Then monitoring the self-talk and using thought stoppage. Well, I think I went through enough detail on that one next. But imagery. Imagery is another one that I taught. Imagery and visualization is one of the most important of all mental skills. And your perception determines what you do, how you feel about it, and about doing it again, your desire to attempt to it. So your imagery, how you image things, is extremely important. And the research that's out there now indicates again that imagery is successful, that it really works. And imagery is something that you can practice within when you are without. You can practice imagery much more than you can practice any skill physically. And so I would have the athletes practice imagery both in and out of practice, but especially I would suggest that they practice imagery, say at 10 to 15 minutes every day, some at a particular time, and imaging themselves. And then within practice, when a play is going on or something, then you're not actually in the play, you would image yourself doing it. And the important thing with imagery too is probably the most important thing is not to image, not to see it like you're seeing a video or something like that, but you image yourself actually doing the play. You're actually doing it at that point. And so that is an extremely important thing. And so I would teach them, again, to do a routine there, an imagery routine, which is relax and then create the situation and then image yourself doing the skill over and over again. And you can practice it many, many times. And that is something that you can do a lot more through the imagery. Time management is another mental skill that I taught them, and I think is extremely important, because what it does is that it gives you control. You feel in control. And so I'd have the athletes at the beginning of each semester develop a master organizational calendar. What they do is take all their syllabi from the classes, add to their calendar everything that's on the syllabus, add to the schedule for practice, anything that is coming up, they add it to their master organizational calendar. And then I would have them each night take their master organizational calendar and organize the next day. And that meant putting place they were to go, time, what they needed to take with them, what they intended to do. And they would have that organized, so they'd have the next day organized. So when they got up the next day, they had their schedule and they followed their schedule. They were in control. And again, that gave them a lot of pride in themselves and also really confidence in themselves and in control. And so that was really important. You know, I used to give them an example of saying, hey, if you don't get organized, you can lose control. You might, hey, get up the next morning and not get to the class that you're supposed to, or go to a class and not take with you what you're supposed to, and then you have to go back to your room and you get there and you might say, oh well, I'll just stay here for a while, and you miss a class and really get messed up there. So time management is extremely important. And as I worked with the athletes too, what I want you to understand is that that after I would meet with them or meet with the team, that I would send an email to them with all the material that we covered that day, copies of it, and so forth. I would call at times that I would show them examples of things that they're doing, and I would give them any additional information that they would need. And too, in working with individuals, something I think really important is that when I got to the point when I would meet the athletes at JMU on campus to me, they would, when they saw me coming and so forth, they would look at me and say, focus. And when we got close together, we would go fist to fist like this and like that. And they'd say, that was our greeting there. We were together. Okay. So that basically is how I would work with them in terms of the mental skills from a sports psychology perspective.